is here, no time to fear. Carell is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Carell is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
Are we to be judged? Are we to be judged by our worst deeds? That question is before us with Cesar Chavez. Plus, gas just went up 25% more. Why? Whose fault? I'll tell you. All that and so much more on today's show. It is the Carell Show. I am Carell. So very glad you are joining me on this Thursday, March 19th. Gas prices soaring. Interest rates on homes just went up. Why? Who's to blame? I'll tell you. Also, are we to be judged on our very worst, things that we do? It appears so. However, I have an issue with taking Cesar Chavez to task for allegedly being a child rapist. So we're going to talk about that and so much more. I'm right here. Everyone's like, where's Carell? Look, I had a morning, okay? My sister has finally been cleared to go to acute care rehab in Tucson. But they just had to draw blood one more time to make sure everything was cool. She refused. I don't know why she refused, but she did. I had to call, override her refusal, and now they're saying her white blood cell count is elevated. First they said, well, we won't redraw blood. Her white blood cell count was elevated a little, but we're not real worried about it. We can go without the new blood. I said, you ain't not gonna draw blood and then send her to Tucson and then have them say, oh, she has an elevated white count. She can't come in, or we've got to transfer her to a hospital again. No. Make sure that when you transfer her, she's going to be able to be there. So they're redrawing her blood right now to see if her white blood cell count is equal to or less than what it was yesterday. If it's higher, we have to tell her that she can't go to rehab today after she cried about being able to go to rehab today after a month in the hospital. So there was that drama. That's why I was late. I was on the phone yelling at a sick woman. I feel guilty, but I was like, why didn't you let them draw your blood? Well, I'm tired of being poked, but you can't leave without it. And you want to leave. You want to go to rehab. So why? Oh, because I'm at the breaking point. Every day, either being in Phoenix or having 12 to 15 phone calls every day. And every day, the situation changing. It's gotten to me. I'm not superhuman. I don't have infinite empathy or compassion. So today, I snapped. But I apologized to her. I called her back. Sorry, I'm a little sweaty. I literally just got out of the shower. I was naked. I was buck naked just about 6 minutes ago. I'm sure that thrills you all. But I was. I haven't even had time to have my hot cocoa yet. Yum. Okay, now I can start the day. First of all, I love you. If you are watching this show right now, if you are a patron, I truly care for you. I do. Yesterday, I had a mini meltdown on air. Just a mini. Because I really felt everything. I have been talking this year, 1990. I have been talking for 30 years this year on the radio. 30 years. 30. 3-0. And yesterday, I sort of felt all of that was for nothing. Because for 30 years, I have warned people of the evils of George W. Bush or the evils of Donald Trump or unending wars and don't go into Afghanistan, and it hasn't fallen on deaf ears, but we still made all the mistakes that I saw coming. We are making a lot more mistakes right now. Climate change, it is right now at 10:15, it's 83 degrees in Las Vegas. It's going to be almost 100 today. In Reno, it's going to be 10 degrees above normal and melt their snow. In California, it may reach 100 in some parts. This is climate change. This is man-made and it's happening. And it relates exactly to what Donald Trump and Israel are doing right now. There is a direct correlation and a lesson that should be learned, but again, it won't be. And that was my frustration yesterday. You see, Israel yesterday blew up the largest or part of the largest natural gas field in the world, which is co-administered by Iran and Qatar. Qatar is furious. Their economy relies on natural gas. So how does that relate to global warming? And how does their actions harm the environment? I'm going to tell you right after this very quick 30-second little interlude where I can sip some more hot cocoa and you can rush to my chat room at youtube.com/reallycarell.
If you're not visiting reallycarell.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallycarell.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Carell is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Carell is the one that you need to know.
Gas went up 25% today. Natural gas prices are soaring. Grocery prices are soaring. And interest rates on homes, which were finally coming down, went up again today on inflation scares. Who did all that? I'll tell you. But before I do, a question in the chat room at youtube.com/reallycarell. Yes, James Schnabel, you called it. I believe it's an infection, and I believe it's an infection from the insertion of the feeding tube. And I hope it isn't sepsis again. So this morning while walking Ember in the beautiful park, where I learned that grackles live 17 to 22 years old. Because I told my friend, I say hello to every grackle I see in the park. I say, hi, grackle. Every black grackle I see, I say hello. Everyone, every day. And I've done it for years. And I said today, these are all my grackles. I said, or descendants of my grackles. And then I said, how long does a grackle live? And I looked it up. 17 to 22 years. Longer than dogs. So I said, these are my grackles. I've been saying hi to them for 8 years. But I also said to him, the fact that the world, not just the United States, can be crippled by the actions of Israel. And this is Israel's war. Israel attacked the natural gas field, not us. However, Trump doubled down and said that if Iran responds, we'll blow the whole thing up. What does that do to the world's supply of natural? Who does that hurt? Israel has been around 2.5 thousand years. So they're not going anywhere. They've lived with nothing. They've lived in the Stone Ages. They don't care. This only hurts the rest of the world. Us, you and I. But more importantly, if this war for Israel that Donald Trump and MAGA are waging, because MAGA supports him. So if this war for Israel that Trump and MAGA are doing can cause this much pain worldwide because of oil, well, the very next thing out of our mouth should be, we need to quit oil. Now, last week there was a story in the news that I did not report on that said, because I don't drink coffee, that said the only way to save coffee is to get off fossil fuel. They did research of where coffee is grown, how it's grown, and what is the number one thing affecting the coffee growing. It's climate change related to fossil fuels and your diet, because those two things go hand in hand, because your food has to be transported all around the globe. So because you eat meat and dairy, you're killing the planet. So they said the only way to save coffee was to get off fossil fuel. Now, that just means coffee will be just for the very rich in the future. You won't be able to have any. And I said then, they're not going to listen to this warning. They haven't listened to Al Gore. They haven't listened to anyone that has said we should be off fossil fuel. In America, we talked about this yesterday. BYD sells cars, electric cars, for $10,000 in Mexico. We can't buy them here. The cheapest electric car in this country is $30,000. It's why nobody has them, except the wealthy. And so we need $5,000 to $10,000 electric cars, and we need to get off oil. Every city-run vehicle, every bus, everything should switch to natural gas or electric, period. All the city cars, all the city buses, everything. That should happen, like now. Not next year, 10 years, 5-year plan. No, it should start tomorrow. And this Iran war for Israel and Trump's ego is proof that we need to say goodbye to oil. Our lives, your life, is being directly impacted in a negative way. Gas this morning here in Vegas at the Chevron was $5.02 a gallon. Granted, they're more expensive than other places, but even at the cheap places, the Sinclair, the 7-Eleven, it's now $4.95 a gallon. That's $5. That's $1.50 more per gallon than it was 23 days ago before Trump began this war for Benjamin Netanyahu. That means 10 gallons now cost $15 more. 15 gallons, the average tank, costs $22 more. Or $75 to fill up a tank that was $43 to fill up 22 days ago. And what have you gotten for the joy of this? You've also spent $1 billion a day of money that you don't have. Millions are uninsured right now because of the lapse in the American Affordable Care Act subsidies. Those extensions cost $30 billion to extend it out. They didn't do it. They didn't give them the $30 billion. But we've, sorry. But we have spent that on war. Do you see the problem? This war is costing you your health care. It's costing you more money at the pumps, at the grocery store, everywhere. All goods have gone up. And now, people trying to sell their homes, it's made it harder because interest rates just rose today on inflation scares because inflation's about to go out of control. All of it by Donald Trump, the GOP, and MAGA. It is all their fault. Not Joe Biden's, not anybody's, but Donald Trump, GOP, MAGA, and Benjamin Netanyahu. Those people are responsible for the pain you feel across the board. Period. Period. And they're allowing him. And the beat goes on. He can spend billions on an illegal and unjust and never-ending war, but they can't extend your health care subsidies. And meanwhile, a solution to help you, an affordable electric car, you can't get your hands on. Now, if you have a friend in Mexico, you can buy one, give their address, come across the border, and then re-register it here. And just say you moved. You'll avoid the taxes that way. Most of us don't have friends in Mexico. So, you know. And I love MAGA that's in my chat room saying, your opinion means nothing. It's not my opinion, you asshole. Opinions are like asshole. Everyone's got them. Some are bigger than others. I only speak truth. I can back my shit up. I don't, need to come out here and spread opinions. That's for your people, like Ben Shapiro and the dead Charlie Kirk. They spread their opinions, not fact. That's for Tucker Carlson. He spreads his opinions, not facts. Here's the fact. The biggest MAGA warmonger in the world, the head of counterterrorism under Donald Trump, resigned. Why? Because he said that Iran was no threat to the United States, their nuclear program was no threat to the United States, and he knew what was coming next. So he resigned. This is Tucker Carlson's best friend. This is someone who is as MAGA as can be. And he has called out Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. This morning, the leader of Spain, the president of Spain, far more superior to any maggot on the planet, came out and said, the United States is engaged in an immoral, unjust, and illegal war that is making the world suffer. That's the president of Spain. President Macron came out and denounced Donald Trump and this war. The president of Qatar is furious with the United States, and they're one of our Middle Eastern allies. The king of Jordan has denounced the United States and their war in Iran, as well as Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not speaking opinion. I'm telling you fact. It's a motherfucking fact that yesterday when I went to bed, gas was $4.40 a gallon, and now this morning it's $5. That's a fact. Okay? So you can take your little demented, addled brain away from me, my chat room, and anyone around me, because they're smart. You're not. MAGA has TS, terminal stupidity. They are the stupidest humans on planet Earth. And their leader is going to destroy the United States single-handedly, while his cult members follow him off the cliff. And those include the members of Congress. What are they debating today? The SAVE Act. So Kansas tried a bill just like what they want to get through the Senate, where you have to show a passport or birth certificate. Once Kansas passed this bill, they purged their voter rolls to make everybody re-register. They lost 34,000 voters because they didn't have birth certificates or passports. And the governor, Republican, won by 12,000 votes. So they know this method works, which is why they're trying to get it passed in the Senate, because they want to cheat in the midterms, because they know there is going to be a bloodbath. They know that the American people en masse are tired. Today, Donald Trump's approval rating with men is 34%. That means 66% of men surveyed disapprove of Donald Trump. That's a fact. Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any seated president in a second term at this point than any other United States president. That's a fact. And 90% of Democrats and 60% of non-MAGA Republicans are against the war in Iran. That's a fact. So the facts are stacking up that Donald Trump is underwater, losing the country, and trying to destroy it for his own financial gain. This is all about him and money that he thinks he's going to make from oil. Because you realize he has bought stock in Venezuelan oil, which he thinks is going to fill the gap from Iran. So he thinks he's going to make a fortune off of Venezuelan oil. The problem? The big oil manufacturers won't go to Venezuela and pump it out for him. They told him point blank, not doing it. Meanwhile, he is depriving Cuba of energy so he can weaken there and take them over because he is behaving like a dictator. That is a fact. I'm not making this up. These are all facts. So, what are we to do? Buckle up. Hold on. He's destroying the very fabric of our nation. He's going to tank the world's economies. Well, he already is. They already are. And he's going to drive millions, especially MAGA. Here's the beauty of this. MAGA is going to be driven into poverty. Isn't that spectacular? You know those big trucks they put their big flags on? They ain't going to be able to move them. Have to put, a flower bed in the back of them. They're not going to be able to afford food or health care. Isn't that great? His own voters are not going to be able to afford their lives. Their rent's going to go up and they're going to get evicted. His own voters. And he doesn't care. He don't care. He's never cared about them. Isn't that something? And they still support him. They have terminal stupidity, TS. They are terminally stupid. And, I'm not going to feel empathy for them. They shouldn't be able to go to food banks. They shouldn't be able to get their health care covered. You voted for it, live with it. So that's where we are on this Thursday. We have a maniac starting a never-ending war. We're already 3 weeks into it. $20+ billion spent. And what are we reaping from this war? Cheaper gas prices? No, just the opposite. Are we any safer? Nope, just the opposite. Did we install a better leader? Nope, just the opposite. His son is even more right-wing than he was. Isn't that perfection? Let's all sip our hot cocoa over this. Isn't that perfection? Yeah, they're not going to be able to use those big trucks. What are all those MAGA men with small penises going to do now? I mean, if they can't drive their big penis extension, what are they going to do? They ain't going to be able to pay for their penis extension. Yep.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
So yes. And now we're going to delve into the topic du jour of Cesar Chavez. It's not Caesar, by the way. It's Cesar. I was alive in the 70s in California. I've seen Cesar Chavez, and I've seen his marches, and I know everything he did to help the migrant communities and the labor unions form around field workers. The good that he did for millions of people is unquestionable. It's why his name is on many streets and many schools. A name today that is being taken down. Why? Because the New York Times spoke to a 90-plus-year-old colleague of his, Miss Huerta, and she says that he raped her several times. She even mothered his children. Although she's had 6 children from 4 different men, but I'm not impugning her. I'm just saying. And she gave those 2 kids up, Cesar Chavez's children. She also says that he groomed and had sex with 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and that basically he was Donald Trump of his time. And there lies the rub. If we're going to remove Cesar Chavez and denounce him, then we have to remove Trump. If we're going to take Cesar Chavez's name off of buildings, then someone get to the Kennedy Center with a chisel and get his name off that building. Stop the airports from being renamed after him. Because Donald Trump has been accused of the exact same things as Cesar Chavez, and he's even been convicted in a court of law, a civil court, of sexual abuse. So either we're racist and we're just going to go after Cesar Chavez because he's Hispanic, or we remove everything of Donald Trump's as well, including taking him out of office. America is going to have to decide how it treats sex offenders. If they go after Cesar Chavez's memory and take down everything that has his name on it, then they're going to have to do the same for Donald Trump. He's been accused of the exact same crimes. Exact same. At the exact same ages. So fair is fair. Either leave Cesar alone and just move on and say, well, he did those things, but oh well. Or treat Trump the same way. You can't have it both ways. See, the rest of the world has already gone through the Epstein files and is firing, arresting, and removing anyone that was in them. we're the only country that is still protecting the Epstein cabal of rich white men, including Donald Trump, that had sex with underage girls allegedly from the files. So I don't want to hear about Cesar Chavez. You know what? And it makes, look, I'm not defending what he did. What he did is despicable. If he did them, then that's despicable. But why wouldn't she take that to her grave? She's 90 plus years old. She's kept the secret for 40 years. Why now? It's got to make you wonder. Why not 20 years ago? Why not when it was happening? Why not during the Me Too movement? If she was afraid of repercussions. Why wait until you're near death to ruin a man's reputation that you could have ruined for decades? I am so questionable of so many things about this story. But more importantly, are we going to treat sexual predators fairly and equally? Meaning, if we punish Cesar Chavez's memory for what he allegedly did, then why don't we punish Donald Trump now for what he allegedly did? We have women that have come forward and said Trump molested them. So why are we going to scrub everything of Cesar Chavez but not Donald Trump? Because he's Mexican? That's really the reason? But that'll be MAGA's reason. Oh, MAGA's all about punishing Cesar Chavez. See, you liberals? See, pedophiles. You liberals are pedophiles. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, the guy you follow is a rapist according to the Epstein files. What are they doing about that? Every time we start talking about it, Donald Trump starts a war. Last time we started talking about it, he invaded Venezuela. This time we started talking about it, he invaded Iran. Every time we try to get this in the news and get people actually talking about it, now Pam Bondi's going to be called in front of the committee. She's subpoenaed. She said she's not going to go, but then she said she's also going to follow the law. She can't have that both ways. She is in violation of the law. They have not released all the files. Why? Because Trump is all over them. That's why. Because other rich white men are all over them. And now we have one lone Hispanic hero who we find out was a flawed individual. And they're already, today, taking his name down from things. Today. No trial, no nothing. One story comes out with one woman making accusations, and already they're pulling down Cesar Chavez's name. Meanwhile, multiple women have made multiple accusations against Donald Trump, and he's getting more things named after him. Someone explain that to me. Where's the logic there? I don't see it. Is it just because Trump is around to say I didn't do it and Cesar Chavez isn't? Would we believe Cesar Chavez if he said he didn't do it? I don't believe Trump. So would we believe Cesar? I don't believe Trump when he says he didn't do it. There's too much evidence that says he did. You can't have all that evidence and be innocent. You can't. Plus, he hung out with Epstein and Vince McMahon, both sexual traffickers. That's, it speaks for itself. But let's crucify the Mexicans. Okay. I see how that's going.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Corralcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Corralcast, driving you home or driving you crazy.
Computer, what's the humidity outside?
The humidity is 17%.
All right, we are back. I am sweating. There's humidity.
Extreme heat warning in effect.
There's an extreme heat warning.
Potentially reaching 102 degrees.
I believe I'm sweating.
Avoid prolonged sun exposure.
It's going to reach allegedly 102 degrees. Lord. I should just sit here like this. Isn't this what people do in the heat? They just sit there like this. I don't know why. Why do people do this in the heat? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Just made me hotter. Oh, Lord. You know, this morning I was reading about all this anti-gay hatred coming out of Africa, and someone asked me, why do you suppose it's coming out now? Africa used to be very tolerant to LGBTQ people. Why now? And I said, because we're exporting our hate. The evangelicals and Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA, they send money and people to African nations to get them to be anti-gay. They're so petty. They're so stupid. And they're so repressed. You know, let's be real. I fully believe Charlie Kirk was, there was a transgendered woman who said that Charlie Kirk was one of her biggest OnlyFans subscribers, and she had the receipts to prove it. You know, every time there's a MAGA convention, Grindr goes down and crashes because they're all gay. All these guys with their micro penises and their big trucks, they're gay. They want to get with their bros and have sex. That's why they're so violent. That's why they're so militant. And that's why they all play dress up and hang out with each other and put face masks on and smack each other's butts. They're gayer than I am. And so they can't accept that about themselves. So they export their hatred because they hate themselves. You know, the more Christian a white guy is, the more gay he is. Trust me on that. I've seen it countless times. The more Christian a guy pronounces he is, he's gayer. Trust me. And so all of these closet gays who can't fess up that they like to be with men export their hatred. You know, Erica Kirk probably doesn't like the gays because she knows her husband went to see a tranny online. You know, a transgendered person. And they export their hatred. So Africa needs money. And the governments of Africa take money from these hate groups in exchange for passing these laws. And so the hatred isn't really exported, it's bought. And why they always pick on gay people? The right's obsession with gay and drag queens and trans people is beyond me. Why they've picked them as the enemy. Their God didn't. Nowhere in the Bible does it talk about drag, does it talk about being transgendered. An all-knowing, all-powerful God would have known about transgendered and would have known about drag queens because they're all-knowing and all-powerful. They are the past, present, and future, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. They would have known what was in the middle. And if Jesus Christ had been worried about drag queens, trans, or gays, he would have talked about them. He didn't. Instead, he said just the opposite. Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Not love your neighbor only if they're straight. Not love your neighbor only if they're white. So these people that claim to be Christian and hide their anti-gayness behind Christianity, they're no more Christian than that microphone stand. You know, they're not Christian. In fact, they're anti-Christian. They are going against the teachings of their own God. They are not following the Bible. What about thou shalt not kill? You know, that's the number one commandment. Thou shalt not kill. Well, Donald Trump has killed many people in the last 3 weeks, including 150 children. But they're okay with that, the Christians? They're fine with that? What about thou shalt not commit adultery? Yet Donald Trump paid a porn star to have sex while his pregnant wife was giving birth to his children. What about that? What about divorce? Yet he's divorced 4 times. He is the most anti-Christian president that there has ever been.
If you're not visiting reallycorel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes at reallycorel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Corel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Corel is the one that you need to know.
Child, it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Don't worry, I won't. Oh, I love that. I love that the people that profess to be the most Christian are actually the least Christian. I love that most Christians hide their hatred for gays and trans and drag behind Christian values, and hatred towards gays, bi, and trans is not a Christian value. It's an anti-Christian value. It goes against what their very Bible says. I love that the person they follow, Donald Trump, is guilty of every one of Dante's 7 deadly sins. Every one. He revels in them. He's made a career of gluttony, sloth, avarice, greed. Everything that Dante said was one of the 7 deadly sins, Trump personifies. And our society emulates the 7 deadly sins. We are the vainest. Look at social media. We are the vainest people in the world to think that our lives are interesting enough that we should tell the whole world about them. It is pure vanity to go on social media with your shirt off so the whole world can idolize your body. That is anti-Christian. That is pure vanity. It is one of the 7 deadly sins. And yet we make stars out of those people. It's amazing how wrong we get almost everything as a society. Just like the oil. We are hurting ourselves in Iran. That's the only thing we're doing. We're not making the world safer. We're making it more dangerous. We're not installing a better dictator. We've installed a worse one. And we're hurting American people economically. And yet, MAGA supports him. Proof of their TSS, Terminal Stupidity Syndrome. They have TSS, Terminal Stupidity Syndrome. People claim to be Christian and then throw nothing but hatred out to the world for gays, for trans, for bis, for women who get abortions. Not mentioned in the Bible, by the way. Not mentioned in the Bible. Nowhere did Jesus say, and women will one day terminate their pregnancies. And I say to thee, nay. No, he never said that. I've read the Bible several times, cover to cover. What a work of fiction, too. When I first read the Bible, I thought, wow, did Stephen King write this? I really thought that. I first read the Bible when I was in 4th grade. And I went to my Sunday school, my catechism. I was Catholic. I went to my catechism teacher and asked if this was a work of fiction. And they said, no, it's the word of the Lord. And I said, well, that just can't be. I said, it's made up. This is all... In 4th grade, I knew the Bible was bullshit. In 4th grade. I knew that it was just a book of stories to try to inspire people to live a better life, and that it was a form of government. In 4th grade, I knew the Bible was a form of government and just a book of stories made up to try to get people to behave the way they wanted to. 4th grade. Why do people that go beyond 4th grade still believe in that crap? The Christian Bible is the biggest fairy tale ever spun. But if you believe in it, And if you follow it, then you got to love the gays. You got to love the trans. You got to love the woman that has an abortion. You have to feed the homeless and the hungry. You have to house them. You have to go out and find a homeless person, bring them to your home, and feed them and house them because your God said to. But they always forget that. Your women have to walk 3 feet behind you and wear purple. If you touch a football, okay? If you touch a football, you must be stoned to death because you have touched the skin of a pig, of a swine, and you need to be put to death. When your wife cheats on you, she needs to be killed. And that's what the Bible says. So if you don't believe me, I could get you here. Hold on. Wait. It's behind my green screen. But I have the Children's Illustrated Bible. And in the Children's Illustrated Bible, it says that Joseph knew he could have Mary stoned for being pregnant outside of wedlock. But he was compassionate and decided to marry her and say the baby was his. That's in the Children's Illustrated Bible. I'm not making that up. So why wasn't Mary stoned to death? Why was she allowed to live? The Bible said that she should be stoned. So, And Michelle Crocker, if you're a Sunday school teacher, then you can't disagree with me. Unless you can't. Wait, here. You know what? I'll get up. I will find. Oh no, what did I do with it? Did I finally throw it away? I think I finally threw it away. The Children's Illustrated Bible. Yep, I think I did. I think it's toast. I think it's gone. Let me double check over here. Where is it? Where'd it go? Yeah, I threw it away. Oh well. Oh well. I was going to get the Children's Illustrated Bible for you. It quotes directly from the Bible. If your wife is unfaithful, you have to stone her to death. It's in the Bible. You can't pick and choose. And that's what modern day Christians seem to think they can do. Well, it wasn't meant to be literal. Or, Charlie Kirk used to do the same thing when he was cornered. He used to deny the Bible and say, well, that was not what it meant. That was an allegory. And by the way, which Bible do you read? Do you read the one written by King James, a king? Not a god, not an angel, a king. There's been 5 interpretations of the Bible. 5. And they all say something different. So which one do you follow? Because they're all works of fiction created by men. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but it's a fact. And you can't pick and choose your hatred. You can't justify hatred of gay people, of women getting abortion, of trans people by the Bible, and then ignore what it says about what you're doing. That you're not going out and ministering to the poor. That you don't give 33% of your income to the church. Do you? If you are Christian and you are hearing my voice, do you give 33% of your income to the church? Because if you don't, you ain't following the Bible. So, as they export their biblical hatred to Africa, so Africa can then harm gays, harm lesbians, harm trans, harm drag, it's disingenuous. Because you follow a book written by people that never met Christ, that has been altered by man for 2,000 years. And that you pick and choose which parts you're going to follow and which parts you're not. And then you denounce Islam, which Islam believes in the Bible. They believed the Bible was an early text that could be interpreted. And then Allah came along and wrote the final text that has to be adhered to word for word, the Quran. If you believe in the Quran, you do not disbelieve in the Bible. Just like the Torah or the Talmud. The Talmud is just the Old Testament. It's still the Bible. The only disagreement, since everybody started as a Jew, there were no Christians. The only reason Christians exist is because Jews do not believe that Christ was the Son of God. They believe he was a prophet. And Christians became whacked out and believed that Christ was the Son of God. And Jews were like, nah, no. That's where the rift happened. All Christians started out Jews. So it's really rich that a Christian would have anti-Semitism, since they all started out as Jews. Just like every man on the planet is trans. If you're a man, you're trans. Because every embryo starts out as a female. And then if you have XY chromosome, you develop into a man. The smart ones stay a woman. The idiots become men. But the smart embryos, the XX embryos, remain women. So every man on the planet is trans. They started out female and then turned into a male inside the womb. And yet they hate trans people when they all started out as trans people. What's the Bible have to say about that? Well, it's not addressed. Why? Because they didn't know. Because it wasn't written by an all-being, all-powerful entity. It was written by idiot men in the year 0. They didn't even let women write the Bible. So the hatred that they are exporting to African nations in the name of their God is disgusting. It's really disgusting. You know? So, people pick and choose what they want to believe. They pick what they want out of the Bible, and then Christians hate Jews, and yet they started out as Jews. We had a seated senator 2 days ago say that there should be more Islamophobia, that we should all fear Islam. Islam is just an extension of Christianity. Islam doesn't not believe in Christ. Islam just believes that he was a prophet and that the prophet Muhammad was the ultimate prophet and that the Quran was the ultimate word. They're not any different than Christians. And yet we think they're so strange. They're not. They're no more strange than Christians and no more stranger than Jews. The only strange ones are Catholics and Scientologists. They're batshit crazy. Both of them. Catholics and Scientologists are crazy. Catholicism was only started as government. It's not interested in the Lord or Christian values. It's interested in power and wealth. Thus, their leader sits in the richest city in the world wearing Prada surrounded by gold, while pledging a life of poverty. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, the guys in dresses in the Vatican that wear gold bling, dresses, and Prada shoes denounce gays and trans. The Pope denounces same-sex relationships when his Swiss guard has to be people under 30, blonde, and unmarried. And that's the truth. The people that guard the Pope, the Swiss guard, have to be under 30, single, and blonde. Sounds like a buffet to me. What a mess. What a mess. Yes, Michelle, you're right in the chat room. Christianity started as a sect of Judaism. They were all Jews. All Christians were Jews. And if you went out and told a Christian that, they'd freak out. No, we weren't. Because they don't know their history. They don't know. Christians are ignorant for the most part. Most Christians are ignorant. They will stand there over a dead relative and say it's God's will. They'll pray to God to save them in a tornado. And when it kills their neighbor, they'll say, well, it's God's will. Oh, so God wanted your neighbor dead, but not you. It's like Michael B. Jordan standing on the stage and saying, holding an Oscar and saying, God is good. First of all, God wouldn't care about your Academy Award. Second of all, God wouldn't want you to win awards because humility was something taught in the Bible. You're not supposed to award yourself. You're not supposed to put yourself up above other people. There's only one person on one pedestal, and that's supposed to be the Lord and Savior, not you. They always get that part wrong, too. God doesn't want you to be above him. Well, her. God would be a woman, by the way, just FYI. The giver of all life is a woman.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
Oh, I danced because we did. I danced because we could. I danced to show the world. I danced to show the good. You know, yesterday I got some reports back on that song, and DJs are absolutely just horrible people sometimes. They're great people. I love them. But at the same time, you guys have no idea what I have to read about myself. You really don't. You think that, oh, Carell must, Let me read to you. Here, open with preview. So they send out my record to European DJs, right? And the European DJ, well, all DJs that get it, give a report back. Now, let me read to you some of the things that some of the DJs have said. This song's a grower. A nice set of mixes. Not bad. Great tracks and great sentiment. Average to good reaction, getting better with each play. Gonna give it a spin. It's okay-ish. But ADJ, or AJD from Circus at O2 Bournemouth and DYMK Bournemouth and H2O Southampton, he said, dreadful vocals. Spoil the whole record. Although, to be honest, the song is very below average as well. Probably a guy who's never recorded a record in his life, but that's what he had to say. Good track, great set of mixes, love the Dirty Disco remix, not for me, slow on my floors, uplifting banger with a catchy vocal and a great remix. Great mixes, love the Dirty Disco mix, cool mix, not bad, catchy track, great pop radio track, love it, cool track, works well in my club. Dirty Disco remix tops the list here. Nice mix from Matt Moss. What a banging tune, says Steve Marshall. Fraser Fraz says it's okay, starting to grow on me. DJ Chubby Paul says this is an amazing track. Let's see. Gary Osley says good track. Clint P says good track and good mixes. Dominic Currivan from Level Nightclub in Liverpool, the Ink Bar in Liverpool, and the Decades of Dance Music Festival says, this is a track to dance to and a track to feel alive to. This is awesome, and it's guaranteed to fill any dance floor. It's infectious, it's catchy, and it's fabulous. Superbaz from The Foundry says, what a brilliant vocal by Carell. Once again, he delivers an excellent production, an excellent track, on a brilliant dance tune that I am sure will be climbing the charts quickly. Right under that, what a below average offering. Carell should stick to talk radio. How this guy in Europe from Buzz FM knows. Or Steve Bright says, I don't really need the dubs. I really like the track as it stands on its own. The vocals are great. Carell delivers a heartfelt performance, and the sentiment of the track nearly made me cry. Oh, God. So I get to read all of that, and I still have to walk around feeling good about myself. I have to read those reports and, And you try to remember all the good ones, but it's the one, dreadful track. How dare Carell even record anything? You want to not fixate on those. You want to try to, go with all, because basically there's 90% good ones, 10% bad. And Thea told me, Thea, who has one of the best voices in the world, said, oh, Boulay, I've released tracks and had DJs say, oh, why did she even sing this? Or her voice is, and look at Barbara at the Oscars. Half of social media was like, oh, she sounded like a bird croaking, or she should never sing again, or her voice is history. And, because everyone's got an opinion. And people don't care if they're going to tear you down or hurt your feelings. They can't just say, not for me, or I didn't care for it. Oh, no, they've got to say, the worst vocals ever recorded. Why is Carell even doing this? He should retire. Because that's where we are now. That's who we are as a people. People feel entitled to just tear you down while they sit and do nothing with their lives. This one, he's a DJ in a club the size of this room. And he wants to tell me about my career. Okay. So, yeah. How many of you are that way? You try to concentrate on positive comments, you try. But it's that one negative one that just sticks in your craw. You're like 5,000 positive ones, one negative one, and that's the one you remember. Oh, it's the weekend. I hope you have a good weekend. I finished watching Paradise last night. I love it. I love that show. It's only going to have one more season, but that's because they say the way it ends, there could not be another season. So they're probably going to kill all of humanity, which probably deserves it. So we'll see. Interesting show, though, post-apocalyptic after a giant super caldera explodes, which Yosemite could, by the way. It's not due to explode. There's no imminent threat of Yosemite exploding, but it could. It's a super caldera. And if it does, it wipes out planet Earth. There are 11 supervolcanoes on this planet. If any of them erupt, like they have in the past, we're done. And that's what happens in the show Paradise. It erupts and it takes the dust cloud 4 years to clear, which means no food, polluted water. It's what killed the dinosaurs. And we act like the dinosaurs was an asteroid, but the dust cloud is what killed them. That's exactly what will happen. And if the supervolcano is near the poles and it instantly melts the ice, there could be a 200 to 400 foot tsunami that wipes out half the continents. We act like that just couldn't happen. It can. It may not in our lifetime, but it could. So live for the day. Have fun today. You can't drive anywhere because gas is too expensive. So go walk if you're not on the West Coast. If you're on the West Coast, you have to stay inside. I just got a warning. It says stay inside today. It's going to be over 100, unseasonably warm. I am Carell. Be who you want to be, so don't hurt anybody. Stay cool wherever you might be. Come back on Monday because I love you and I need you and I adore you. In the meantime, leave your comments below. Don't forget to become a patron at patreon.com/reallycarell. Patrons, look for a Zoom call this weekend. Let's say hi to each other. And other than that, stay safe. Know that I love you.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service.